Good evening and welcome. With the Trump campaign trying to move on from the fallout over racist remarks made by a speaker at a Trump rally over the weekend, some off-the-cuff comments made by President Biden are generating their own controversy tonight, shifting focus at a critical moment for both campaigns with under a week to go until the election. Vice President Kamala Harris, fresh off making her closing argument speech last night, today facing questions over President Biden's apparent reference to Trump supporters as garbage. The White House quick to clarify the president's words and meaning as the Trump campaign was busy threading the president's remarks into its own closing argument. Harris responding this morning saying she strongly disagrees with criticism of people based on who they vote for. It's where we start tonight with correspondent Garrett Haake.
Tonight, former President Trump weighing in on the firestorm over remarks by President Biden, where he appeared to call Trump supporters garbage, looking to turn Biden's controversial comments into a campaign rallying cry.
Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage. And they mean it.
Later, appearing in a garbage truck.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honor of Kamala and Joe Biden.
While hours earlier, Vice President Harris separating herself from the president's comments.
He clarified his comments, but let me be clear, I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for. I will be a president for all Americans, whether you vote for me or not.
The president made those comments last night on a Zoom event with a Latino group, referencing Trump's Madison Square Garden rally.
Speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. The Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware, they're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. His demonization of Latinos is unconscionable, and it's un-American.
2.5 hours later, the president posting on X he was not referring to all Trump supporters, writing, quote, "Earlier today, I referred to the hateful rhetoric about Puerto Rico spewed by Trump's supporter at his Madison Square Garden rally as garbage. That's all I meant to say." But his comments sparked a backlash. Democratic Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro reacting when he first heard the audio.
Kind of give you my fresh reaction to it. I would never insult the good people of Pennsylvania or any Americans, even if they chose to support a candidate that I didn't support.
While Trump and his supporters responding in real time, learning about the remark mid-rally from Senator Marco Rubio.
Just moments ago, Joe Biden stated that our supporters are garbage.
That's terrible.
Trump comparing the remark to Hillary Clinton's 2016 comment calling Trump supporters deplorables.
Garbage, I think, is worse, right?
But Trump has his own long history of divisive rhetoric, including these comments attacking Democrats just yesterday.
This is a sick group of people, I'm telling you, and there's a great evilness.
And repeatedly referring to his opponents as the enemy from within.
Those people are more dangerous, the enemy from within.
While Trump last night distancing himself from the racist comments by that comedian at his MSG rally.
I have no idea who he is, never saw him. I don't want anybody making nasty jokes or stupid jokes. Probably he shouldn't have been there, yeah.
And late today, news from Puerto Rican music star Nicky Jam, who endorsed Trump.
You know Nikki, she's hot. Where is Nikki?
We need you. We need you back, right? We need you to be the president.
Renuncio a cualquier apoyo.
Jam now rescinding that endorsement, saying, quote, Puerto Rico deserves respect.
Garrett joining us now live. Garrett, former President Trump is now moving on to another state tomorrow with a significant Latino population.
Really several, Lester. From here in Wisconsin, Trump will head to New Mexico, another non-traditional battleground state. From there, it's back to Nevada, where he initially received that Nicky Jam endorsement. Lester?
All right, Garrett Haake, thank you. Meanwhile, Vice President Harris was on her own battleground blitz after last night's rally in Washington, making her closing argument. Peter Alexander is following the Harris campaign.
Vice President Harris tonight taking her closing argument on the road.
Are we ready to vote?
Hitting 3 crucial swing states.
Unlike Donald Trump, I don't believe people who disagree with me are the enemy. he wants to put them in jail, I'll give them a seat at the table.
Harris today trying to capitalize on last night's massive rally in front of the White House.
Donald Trump has spent a decade trying to keep the American people divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is. But America, I am here tonight to say that is not who we are.
Promising to promote unity and honoring those Americans who fought for freedom 250 years ago.
They didn't do that, only to see us submit to the will of another petty tyrant.
Still a challenge for Harris? While polls show she has a significant lead among women, Trump has a large lead among men. Eric Vose runs a community theater in La Crosse, Wisconsin. He's supporting Harris.
My wife is a breast cancer survivor, so she's got one of those pre-existing conditions. So I want to make sure we keep that Affordable Care Act.
Electrician Eric Rathke is voting for Trump.
Honestly, I think the thing with Trump is he says what's on his mind. He says what a lot of people are thinking.
Also tonight, Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger is endorsing Kamala Harris, warning if reelected, Trump will, quote, find new ways to be more un-American than he already has been. Lester?
Okay, Peter, thank you. Already, the Trump campaign is making allegations that there has been election cheating in battleground Pennsylvania, but they've produced no evidence. Hallie Jackson has a reality check.
That's really deceiving. Videos like these of long lines in Bucks County amplified by the Trump camp alleging something nefarious.
The Trump-Vance campaign has just filed a huge lawsuit against Bucks County for turning away our voters.
But in reality, Bucks County says they were trying to stick with business hours and miscommunicated that plan to some people waiting to submit mail ballots. Now, after a court order, they'll be open through Friday. Then there's this allegation.
They've already started cheating in Lancaster. They've cheated. We caught them with 2,600 votes. And every vote was written by the same person. I wonder how that happened.
They weren't votes. They were hundreds of fraudulent registration applications. And officials also wonder how it happened, which is why they've rejected those applications submitted by paid canvassers and are investigating. It's exactly how the system is supposed to work. Safeguards kicking in to prevent any cheating, not accelerate it.
When you have cases like this, it should encourage people to have more faith in the system, not less.
It comes as former President Trump and his team are ramping up attacks on the election, despite no evidence of widespread fraud, framing processes that seem standard as suspicious and potentially planting the seed now to dispute the results later.
There is certainly a strategy right now to cast doubt on the results of the election before the votes have been cast.
It's an echo of the former president's election fraud lies in 2016 and in 2020 when his allies lost dozens of court challenges. The Pennsylvania governor today says the state will again have a free and fair, safe and secure election. Lester?
Hallie Jackson, thanks. And the director of U.S. cybersecurity telling NBC News that America's adversaries are waging an all-out effort to hack and influence the election. Tom Costello reports him inside the command center.
This is our secure floor.
All cybersecurity.
So cybersecurity and physical security of critical infrastructure.
It's in this room that America's Director of Cyber and Infrastructure Security, CISA, says the nation's shields are up, with U.S. adversaries targeting the elections.
What we are seeing are Russia, Iran, China conducting influence operations, disinformation operations, focused on two goals: to undermine American confidence in the legitimacy of our elections and to stoke partisan discord.
Last week, Pennsylvania election officials quickly labeled this video a fake, which depicted somebody allegedly ripping up ballots for Donald Trump.
FBI, the intelligence community, and CISA came out affirming that it was a fake Russian video. Look, we are going to see more of this.
Ahead of the elections, CISA has now role-played 200 response scenarios with all 50 states, from ransomware attacks to deep fake videos to bombings.
There's a lot to keep track of. Nationwide, 132,000 polling places, 775,000 poll workers. It's here that they watch for any signs of cyber or physical interference. Do you see any sign of a successful foreign attempt to hack into any bit of the election mechanics in the country?
No, and in my view, that would not be possible.
Not possible because every state runs their own elections. There is no single point of vulnerability. Voting machines are not connected to the internet. 97% use paper ballots, and every state has added layers of security since 2020.
I think the greatest threat is this fire hose of disinformation. It's corrosive to our democracy. It does the work of our foreign adversaries for them. And oh, by the way, it's creating very real physical threats to election workers and election officials and their families.
Foreign and domestic disinformation turning Americans against each other. Tom Costello, NBC News, Washington.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.